They start out taking care of you, right? Pay you your salary. Now you got the domino goes in like this. Three things you have to look after. I heard somebody say the budget of the church, other things of the church. That comes second. Because the first thing that you do is to show the members your love. And when you show them your love, you start speaking. If I take care of the elder, y'all take care of me, I take care of my elder got to take care of his bishop. This is what the money is all about. See, but we got some pastors there to explain this thing to them. Now the members of the church is saying that I had this to happen to me.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay, I had this to happen to me. They told me, said, the elder and the bishop got more money than we have. But when I told her, when I went to this last church, about the money she wanted to pay me, I said, I'm not worried about that. Paying me, let's take care of the church. And I wasn't really think that would make us all happy, the elder, the bishop, that we could go to the conferences and we are all happy. I said, if we do that, God will take care of all of us.
So I think I heard you say at the end, Elder, the focus should be taking care of the church first, and then the pastor. Okay, that's what we got. Y'all got that? Y'all stay on that. That's what we got. Yes, ma'am. I have a question here.
This is a change of subject, if I may. I was wondering with the emerging churches, and some of you have mentioned on the panel, have mentioned that you've come into a church with 1, 2, or 3 members. Has it been a challenge, and if so, how have you dealt with remaining and maintaining the AME doctrine of the congregation as it grows? And it's been mentioned that the churches have grown under your leadership, because for 50-odd years I was a Baptist, and I knew when I joined the Methodist, the AME church, and I was taught about the doctrines with a notebook, and we had classes on and on. And I'm wondering if that's a challenge with the emerging churches, and who takes on that responsibility?
Okay.
Also, what I end up doing, one of the things that I end up doing at St. Paul is a church that's over 100 years old. However, the challenge was that the members that are still there really were not taught about the AME doctrine and discipline. So actually, I take part of our Sunday school, because I teach Sunday school now. They weren't doing Sunday school. They weren't having Bible study. So that's something God said, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing, so this is what we're going to do. So I take 30 minutes of that Sunday school time, or even 30 minutes of the time that we have for Bible study, and we go through the discipline. So I'm teaching that information to those members, because they need to know how the church operates. That it's not what the pastor is saying. Yes, you can go to part 5, section 7 in the discipline, and I point them and talk about the pastor's salary. So we go through that. Thank God I have a spiritual father who is now a bishop. But these are things he taught me. These are things that you had to go through new members class. Even when I was born AME, came back 10 years ago, but I still had to go back through new members class. Amen. So I took the information, thank God for him, took the information, changed it, made it apply to St. Paul Mayport, and this is what we teach. So I don't just think, okay, my new members are going through new members class. No. Those 20 members that I picked up the phone and called to tell them, hey, you have a new pastor. I'm here. This is what I'm here. God sent me here. Please come back. Come and visit. And that's how members started coming back, because I took the time to let them know you have somebody. I have a member who joined, a person who joined the church. And she said, the only reason why I came back, because you picked up the phone and called me.
Amen. Take your time.
It didn't take much. So they're coming back, and as they're coming back, they're picking up where we left off at in the discipline.
As we shift over to Reverend Davis and Reverend Williams on this same question, I want to just kind of caution all of us that whenever there's leadership transition, you're always going to have there's a saying that the The favorite pastor is the one who just left and the one who's coming after you. And so I want to caution all of us sometimes to go back to my brother's comment in our wording. We don't want to cast any negative dispersions on the person who came before us, because sometimes you'll find that your predecessor was doing some things, and the people say, oh, they never, you'll be surprised. So I just want to we want to respect the persons that we are following behind, because when we leave, we want that next person to respect. So I want to just kind of put that out as we hear from Reverend Davis.
And I think you asked a question about a challenge. Yes, it is a challenge. But I found that, as the scripture says, some things come through fasting and praying. And people most time adopt to the leadership. And you cannot be a lazy pastor and expect to be successful. And I don't ask people, this is my philosophy, I don't ask you to do nothing that I won't do. If it comes to cleaning up the bathroom, cleaning the church, whatever. So therefore, that kind of motivate people when they see you will do it. Mm-hmm. That kind of motivate them into doing things where you won't have to do it. So therefore, it's a sacrifice that you have to make, but God meets your needs. My back has been against the wall many times. When time to pay the budget, as they can say the budget, my back has been against the wall many times. I've gone to the mailbox and there was checks for $5,000, $4,000 in the mailbox. Yeah. God hears and answers prayer. And without faith, you can go around doubting all you want. But I don't even deal in negative. Don't let people even talk to me negatively.
Amen.
Because they'll start you to thinking negative and make you start doubting what God can do. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness of the world, and they dwell in. God got all the money.
Okay.
We're going to
Send somebody to you.
We're going to hear from Reverend Williams on this question. And then I want to shift to another question that I think is really important.
I think it's important, no matter what level you're on, to follow the structure as well as the doctrine of our church. So even when I was at Grace Temple, we went to CUC, we went to district meetings, we went to conference meetings. The presiding elder came and held quarterly conferences. We held church conferences because we had to go through, in order to get the church built, I had to have a church conference, I had to have a quarterly conference, I had to go to the district conference and have the district conference approve what we were trying to do in our emerging church. So I would tell those pastors who are in emerging churches, if you're planning to grow, you need to understand the conference structure of the church so that you don't get sideswiped or waylaid or not understand the process and get very frustrated, and your members get frustrated. But you have an elder that you need to talk to. You need to find out who is the chair of your trustee of the district or conference trustees, so that you can communicate with that person. And this is some of the basics that you need to understand to help you work within our system. Otherwise, you're going to get very upset. Your members are going to get very upset if you don't go through the process and document the work that you're doing.
Amen. Okay. All right, another question. There's a familiar saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's very clear that many of our emerging churches have been doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so obviously there needs to be some change. And so I've asked these panelists and others, how do you go about introducing and creating and instituting change in some of these environments where we know the status quo is not working? How do you make change happen, or do you?
I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. You have to, people that feel good, they will work for you, and they will go and people are excited when they see that you bring value to them. And so when you're in the church and you might see something that, I don't know if it's Reverend Griffith's book or another book, I can't remember, But there was a book that I read that said sometimes people that have been around, deceased, all talks of deceased, when people have been around a situation for a long time, they can't even see the dying process. Mm-hmm. But when you come into a situation and you can see what they might not be able to see, and you find a way to assist them at that part that was dying and coming alive, they'll begin to trust you. They'll begin to be excited. It might be the facilities and every situation again. I think you have to go and show that you are bringing value to the situation, even in the largest. And so a church, I'll say in Trenton. Trenton was a good, solid church. They would never. The only problem, and I think I know I saw two members from Trenton that are here, Gladys and I know they're in here, but they were in a situation to where money was not an issue. Their largest issue was understanding our church and why our church needed resources that they could better use for themselves. And so I saw with them, I had to teach them the value of our church. And the first thing that I saw that they needed to see that wasn't directly tied to, well, it didn't seem like it would be directly tied to our value, but the building just looked archaic. You know, I think we were in 1999, and it still had stuff that hadn't been kept up from the 50s. And so the first thing that I saw, we have to do something to bring life to this place. And so literally, and everybody can't do it, just like Stephanie said, you know, you can't, but I had to take what I had the ability to do. And so I brought in some folk and got some folk from there, and man, we just ripped the whole ceiling out. And we put up new ceiling, we put up new chandeliers, we put down new carpet, we redid the pews, we did all of this work because money was not their issue. All right, now somebody slipped up a Bible study and told me, they got convicted, not Bible study, official board got convicted and told me about $25,000 that no preacher ever knew about. And so what I did when I found out, I'm not gonna take that from me, but I'm gonna use your resources because you have that there. But you're sitting in a situation where nobody new wants to come into this, only the people that are accustomed to it. And so I'm not going to go and take what you have and use it for me, but we totally, and they felt good about that. And so we have to find ways to help people feel good about doing something new that brings value to them.
So Reverend, why do you think it is, should be a simple answer, why do you think it is that what they had not shared with your predecessors, why did they share that with you?
I think it was a conviction, and it wasn't an official board, it was Bible study. We were in a circle at the end of Bible study, and so teaching.
What do you hear? What? Trust.
Mm-hmm.
They trusted you.
Yeah.
They trusted.
Trust some things that have happened in the past.
Right.
Your leadership.
Yeah. I mean, you're going with the deep answer, but the simple answer is you were able to build their trust.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're going to hold on just in case something happens, but now we got somebody
that we can trust.
That's power. That's power.
Hold up, Rick. Along the same lines of trust, as we were talking this morning at the laity of the church, we talked about communication. Communicating with our pastor. Letting our pastor know how we feel. Asking the pastor how they feel.
Can I pause for a second? Let me ask this question because you already answered it. My question was, how can the pastor build a better relationship with the officers and members of an emerging church? Now go on.
Communication.
Yeah.
You must communicate. Be thy brother keeper. Once you communicate, Pastor Griffin and Lucretia, eye contact or whatever the young people want to call it, we can move. We can move mountains. We can build the trust. And we can go forward. Communication. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we're having now in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We're not communicating. The congregation is not communicating with the pastors are not communicating with the congregation.
Yes, sir.